Hey everyone, it's Joy here for Honeybee Stamps, and today I have a couple cards sharing just some back to basics with stenciling. I think it's a fun way to create a card, and I'm going to be using the Quatrefoil stencil. This is a two-piece stencil, and then I'm going to use the big Buzzwords stamp and coordinating die and the crystal clear mix from Honeybee Stamps. I thought it would be fun to kind of go back to the basics if you're new to card making, or maybe haven't used stencils a lot or whatever. I just think it's a really great way to make a huge impact on your card, especially a colorful one, which is what we're going to do today. I'm going to do rainbow order. So I adhered down the stencil. This is actually the top stencil. I'm going to start with this one first, and I'm ink blending, and I'm ink blending lightly because when we put the second one on top, I'm going to go a little bit darker. So I also have this adhered down with pixie spray. So something like this kind of stencil that has really fine lines, it is your best bet to use pixie spray. So you're going to spray it on, let it dry, about a minute or so. I don't usually wait that long, probably 30 seconds to 45 seconds because I'm impatient. And then you can adhere it down, and then those little pieces are not going to move. So that would be one of my tips for a stencil that has, these thin, fine lines like this. I am using some Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks in Watermelon, Grapefruit, Sunbeam, Fairway, Cadet, and Amethyst. Again, I'm doing it lightly because when I bring in the second one, I'm going to go a little bit darker. So when you're stenciling with inks like this, if you have a layering stencil and say you don't have multiple colors of that ink, just start lighter, and with each stencil go darker and darker, and it will look like you have multiple colors of ink, which is really, really nice, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm lining up my second stencil, so it looks like it's slightly smaller than the other openings. So of the colored pieces, when I lift the stencil up, it's going to have a lighter outline edge of where we stenciled first, and now we're stenciling darker. I'm just going over the same colors where I stenciled before, obviously, and then blending that. And this, I'm not even going as dark as I could normally. So say you had a third stencil, you could go even darker. I love stencils, but I just didn't use them for the longest time, but I really love them, just like I really love embossing folders. I think you can make some really great cards, and they're super easy to make. So doing something like this, especially if you're mass producing, is really quick to do. So we're going to create another one, just a different pattern with the same colors. So again, another piece of A2 sized cardstock, going in kind of this rainbow order. I just really didn't have a plan, but I'm letting these ink colors blend together through the stenciled pieces. So some of the color is in the openings, you might have two different colors, a little bit of the yellow and the green mixed, and that's what I think is kind of fun about something like this. So when you're stenciling, you definitely can go a little wild, and I think changing up from even just a solid color to multicolor can really change the look using the same stencil. I'm going to bring that pinky red back in, and again, I'm doing this nice and light. And I'm going to add that next stencil. This is the base stencil, so this one usually is what you would use first, but I'm going to do this differently. So let's go a little bit darker. And I'm using a smaller blender brush. These blender brushes are just dedicated for this ink, but Honeybee Stamps definitely has blender brushes that are fantastic. I have them. I just have these dedicated to these ink pads here. Let's get this blue in here, blend that a little bit more over the green and the purple, and then we can come back in with that amethyst. And then we have these backgrounds. Now we can create these really fun cards, and I'm decided to use the big Buzzwords stamp and coordinating die. So I have die cut two of the words big, and there's different fonts. There's scripty and then like a big bold one. I have die cut each of them from black cardstock 3 times. You could do 4 or 5 times depending on how much dimension you want, but 3 I think is a really good number. It gives you a good amount of dimension, but if you go more, it can look like chipboard, which is really a lot of fun. I did trim these card panels down about a quarter or about a 1/16 of an inch on all, no, excuse me, an 1/8 of an inch on all sides. And then I adhered that to a white A2 size card base. And now I want to stamp my sentiments. So one of them is going to say a big congratulations, and the other one's going to say big birthday wishes. So I have my MISTI, and I'm going to put my sentiments down. And I decided to use the Cadet and Grapefruit to stamp these instead of just a black ink. I liked the big bold black sentiments, but then doing a fun colored ink I thought would be really, really cute with these cards. So I'm going to ink those up, press them down, and then I can just trim that out with my paper trimmer. And then we have our sentiments. So let me grab that. And it's really easy to do. I like to make sure my sentiments are lined up at the bottom of that cardstock, nice and straight. So all I have to do is trim the top and the sides. I'm going to add some glue behind that sentiment and then a little bit of foam tape. And then this one says big birthday wishes. And again, when you're stenciling, I kind of feel like it's all about the background. So you can just make it as awesome as you want. And then putting like a big sentiment or even a small sentiment. I mean, I like to do that too. It just kind of depends on what the background's doing. I'm going to line up this big word. I like it going up and down like that. I think that is so fun. And then again, another piece of foam tape behind the congratulations. And I want to finish off the card with a little bit of bling. I'm using the Crystal Clear Mix. I didn't want to add anything with color because the background is so awesome with all of that color. So I'm just going to add a few of these, and I'll show you here in a second up close what they look like, but they just kind of reflect some of that color. They almost look a little bit like water droplets in a way, but they kind of have all the cut edges like a crystal. So let's take a look at these up close. Look at how pretty that is. And of course, stenciling is so easy. And then we can look at this last one. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.